Every single quality failure has a cause. Finding it fast and then documenting the fix so it never ever happens again, that's the whole game. But honestly, most organizations are pretty slow at both, which lets problems hang around or even come back. So today, we're going to dive into the playbook for deploying an AI-assisted system that changes all of that, and you can get started this week.
Just look at the difference here. On the left, you've got the old way. A defect happens, and then nothing. A long, painful gap while someone digs through data manually. Then, once they finally figure it out, there's another long gap before the standard operating procedure, the SOP, gets updated. Now look at the right. This is the new reality. AI just crushes those timelines, shrinking those gaps from weeks or maybe even days down to just a few hours. It makes finding the likely cause and documenting the fix happen at incredible speed.
So, how does AI actually pull this off? It's not magic. It really comes down to three incredibly powerful and specific things it can do that completely transform your quality process from reactive and slow to proactive and super fast.
Okay, let's break these down. First, the AI digs through all of your quality data. I'm talking production logs, maintenance records, the whole shebang, and it spits out a ranked list of potential root causes. Now, this isn't the final answer. Think of it as a data-driven cheat sheet for your engineers. Second, once your team confirms the real cause and figures out a fix, the AI generates a first draft of the SOP, instantly, and in the right template. And third, it handles all that boring but critical back-end stuff. Version control, archiving old documents, and even mapping the changes to your regulatory standards like ISO 9001.
This all sounds great in theory, right? But how do you actually make it happen? Well, that's what this next section is all about. This is your practical, step-by-step blueprint for taking this from just an idea to a live system that's actually working.
So before you even start, you've got to have these 5 things ready to go. First, at least 6 months of good, structured quality data. Second, a standardized way to classify defects. This just means everyone calls the same problem the same thing. Chipped paint is always chipped paint, not coating flaw one day and surface blemish the next. You'll just confuse the AI otherwise. Third, an approved SOP template. Fourth, know your regulatory requirements. And fifth, and this is probably the most important part, a named quality engineer who owns the human review process. The AI gives you candidates, but a human expert always has to make the final call.
And here it is, the 7-step process to go live. Now look at steps 1 and 2. They are all about prep work, standardizing your defect names and cleaning up that data. Seriously, do not skip this. Step 3 is your first test run. Pick a recurring defect you already know a lot about to build some confidence. Then, 4 and 5, this is where the human takes over. Your engineer validates the AI's ideas. And finally, steps 6 and 7 close the loop. Generate the SOP draft, get it approved through your normal channels, and get it out there.
Okay, so you followed the steps, you're deployed. Awesome, but the work isn't over. Now we need to define what good actually looks like and set up the rules of the road that make all this new speed safe and effective.
So your first key metric is all about speed. The goal? A list of root cause hypotheses should be in your engineer's hands within 24 hours of you submitting the data. I mean, think about that. From problem to potential cause in a single day. If it's taking longer, don't blame the AI. That's a huge red flag that your data prep process needs to be a lot cleaner.
Your second metric is accuracy. In a well-tuned system, the AI's #1 suggestion should turn out to be the actual root cause more than 60% of the time. If it's lower, your data quality is probably the issue. But here's the kind of weird part. If it's too high, like over 80% right away, that's also a red flag. It could mean your team is just rubber stamping the AI's top pick without really investigating.
Metric number 3 is about documentation speed. Once the root cause is confirmed and the fix is defined, the AI should be able to generate a complete first draft of the SOP in under 2 hours. Of course, the human approval process will still take time, but the grunt work of actually writing the document is cut down from days to just a couple of hours.
And your last success metric is currency. Basically, are your documents up to date? The goal here is that over 90% of the SOPs in your library reflect what's actually happening on the floor right now. This number tells you if your documentation is keeping up with reality. If it starts to drop, you know there's a broken link somewhere between the fix and the instructions.
Look, speed is useless if it's not safe. This right here is the governance layer that keeps everything on the rails, and these 3 rules are totally non-negotiable. 1, an engineer has to physically validate every single AI hypothesis. No exceptions. 2, AI-generated SOPs are only drafts. They have to go through your normal human approval process. And 3, you have to audit your SOP library every quarter to catch any changes that might have slipped through the cracks.
Finally, let's talk about where things can go wrong. If you understand these common pitfalls, these 4 big mistakes we see all the time, you can make sure you steer clear of them when you do your own deployment.
The first and honestly most dangerous mistake is just accepting the AI's top answer without doing a real-world investigation. Remember, the AI is a pattern-matching machine. It tells you what is statistically likely based on the data. It's your engineer's job to go confirm if that pattern matches the physical reality on the shop floor.
The second big pitfall is impatience, just skipping the data prep. Running your analyses on messy, non-standardized data is a complete waste of time. The results you get back will just reflect the problems in your data, not the problems in your process. That preparation step isn't optional, it's essential.
Mistake number 3 is not properly reviewing that SOP draft. And I don't mean checking for typos. The quality engineer's review has to confirm one critical thing. Does this procedure actually describe the work being done on the floor? If the description you gave the AI was incomplete, well, the SOP is going to be incomplete, too.
And the final mistake is treating these as 2 separate tools. You find the root cause, you implement a fix, but then you forget to update the SOP. When that happens, the quality loop is broken. The very next operator is now working from outdated instructions. Your root cause analysis and your SOP generation, they have to be connected by design.
So, after all that, what's the big takeaway? It really boils down to this one simple idea. AI brings you incredible speed. That's the benefit. But it's the human-led governance, the tough investigation, the data discipline, the structured approvals. That's what makes that speed safe and truly powerful. And that is how you fix problems for good.